Yo, digging boss. The shit like just started. I swear you probably beat the buzzer to the shit going live. You beat the bot, so your message doesn't even show up. It's crazy. Oh no! I I fat fingered my MIDI keyboard. That was about to be really creepy. Hello, Two Mouse Party. Welcome to the stream. I don't even know. Look, I mean, I'm just gonna assume you were excited, and that's okay. I am too, except for I'm dreading a couple of things from this breakdown. I'll preface with a couple of things. So, this track is one of my crazier ones. Good luck, have fun. Thank you for stopping by and leave a like. It would be nice. It's one of my crazier ones, but it's pretty limited in the track count because it's very it's very rudimentary compared to my other tracks. But also, it involves a lot of like, you know, like raw style-esque kicks and things like that. And a lot of those kicks have been rendered out, and the Edisons in which they sat are no longer in the project. So like, I don't know what the fuck 51 is, but it's here somewhere, I guess. Oh, this is definitely one of the kick presets, because like in order to like make a kick, I would have to do a preset which I would have made not in a patcher, but like, you know, in the channel itself, or even if I did do it in a patcher, I would be doing that for like so many different iterations for so many, like for a couple of different kicks, and it would just, you know, it would become too much on my CPU a little bit, and also just too much for my brain. And so a lot of like when I get to the later sections and I'm explaining like how I made certain kicks, I will have to word it a lot more and show you a lot less, you know, but you'll have to take my word for it that like I did make all these kicks, like these distorted kicks towards the end. I did make them from scratch, from like not scratch, like I didn't synthesize them myself, but I made them from like default FL kicks, and just a lot of processing, you know. If you've heard the song before, you might still be scratching your head, unless you've like had experience making like hardstyle kicks or anything like that, in which case you might be able to understand and intuit how that's done, but I'll break it down, you know. But that's towards the end, and here's what we do here. We go section by section, we go top down, right? That's how I'm going to relay the information to you. And I guess I should take this time to mention that if you are a YouTube member, you do get the FLPs. You know, you can just, I'll just give it to you. The zip, all the samples, you know, all that sort of stuff. Which I think is cool. You know, it's a nice little deal. It's like, what, $2? You know, you get all of them straight up. I am back, son. I'll be back. Okay. But yeah, no, this track it's pretty fun. You know, can't wait to get into it. Hopefully it won't take that long to really break it down. What is this for? Whatever. I might have to get rid of this because it's just doing nothing. It's just sitting there. Yeah, no, I'm confident. I'm confident on my being it's doing nothing. Stream element spot running. Oh my god. Wow. Hold on, let me just really quickly add a notebook to. I start to regret the changes I made. The more I listen to music that's actually popular in the space. It makes me think I'm neutering the master in comparison to others, and that this would sound more like shit in a large sound system than if I had just not EQ'd it after the fact. I wish Notebook was in newer versions of FL. Is it not? Oh, the wonders I could do. I would like go section by section and put notes because you can automate the page selector, but like, whatever. They removed it? Yeah, there's too much bloatware. We gotta get rid of it. What the fuck? Alright, yeah, sick. So this is useless what I'm doing because most people who install, who like get these FLPs are not gonna be on FL12, you know? Either way, happy listening, and I hope you learn something. The real idea behind having this notebook here is so that I can go post render, and then, you know, like that. Because this is for like sharing purposes. I will say a lot of these tracks were not colored before I made the decision to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to share these FLPs, of course. You know, that's like my MO. So let's just, let's have a little refresher, shall we? I got new pants and I'm wondering if they're too baggy. That I can fit multiple PS5s in them, or is that the Goldilocks just right zone? It's subjective. I don't know. It's up to you. If you can style it and convince other people that it's cool, then like maybe you have some more justification. But as long as you think it's cool, then like whatever, right? I mean, they called Kanye West a homeless looking ass bum when he started wearing his baggy shit, you know, but now it's how everyone dresses, right? So you could be starting a new wave of even baggier, you know, some real authentic baggy, some real like, I could shoplift a console. I could put a 40 ounce in one pocket and an Xbox One in the other. And they'd be worth the same dollar amounts because who the fuck is buying an Xbox One secondhand?
What do you have to say to the viewers?
Awesome. Very short, very sweet, very to the point. You get it. It's loud. It's a lot. It was definitely fun to make once I figured that I didn't want to do psytrance and I instead wanted to do whatever the hell that was in the second half. But left to right, top down. I wanted the intro to be some like digicore, but because I was at 150, it doesn't sound like digicore. It just sounds like a fucking beat. It just sounds like a beat, which is fine, you know. And for me, this is pretty standard stuff. Like I've been producing for a long time, and a lot of that time was spent making beats, not just EDM stuff. And so like, you know, I'm able to just kind of when I need a beat, I'll just whip it up. Like it's not really anything crazy. You know, simple. The Wario swag bass is nice, and the pretty technical sounding hi-hat pattern. Then like, where is it? Like, you know, standard. The drums are all kind of communicating with each other in a way that sounds nice. Just, you know, simple, good beats. Doesn't get much more complicated than that. And then I'm like, okay, I need a cool sample too, because it's a beat, right? Where is it? Nuts. So this, I can't even explain like where this came from, but this thing is like, which is already an insane sample in and of itself. I remember it was just like it was a normal ARP, in like SAR or something. I forget what the patch name was. I used to remember it like off the top of my head. But I arpeggiated it and then I put it through a gross beat to like get it to sound all like, you understand, right? And then I put it through a bunch of other shit to get it like in line for this beat. So I put it through the triplet shit again. You know, and then I put it through Shaperbox at home. I don't think I changed anything like from this. Like, I mean, sometimes I do, like here. So, all right, Shaperbox at home. What are we doing? I guess it's the dry signal. It's just kind of transgate, simple. And then everything else is, very weird. I don't even know like how I got there, but you know. The plus octave on gross beat does, if you pair it with the transgate, make things sound fucking crazy, like staccato-y, like it's super sick. And then I don't know why it does that in the beginning, but like whatever. Right? It doesn't matter to me. And then I put it through a bit crusher and then another EQ and a polarity flipper because I guess it was clashing in some way. And processing, right? So single band compression. It's not that much, just to kind of even things out a little bit. Multi-band compression. Ow. That's how much highs there are. I needed to like really squash them. You bit crush them. We're bit crushing an already bit crush signal, but like I don't fucking care. Like, and then EQ a little bit, you know, keep the highs, there's so much mids. Tame those and put it through a de-esser, which isn't doing much, but just slightly making it just a little bit more bearable. Also high quasi. I realized I didn't say anything as you presented yourself. And then, you know, a delay on 3 or dotted eighths, where I'm EQing the wet signal. Shit. And then some mid sides to finish things off. Awesome. And then we have basically the foundation for the beats. sick. And I do want to go top down, but there is something else like in the sound effects. It's a little more important. That makes it really tie everything together. And you actually can't hear it, never mind. It's a song called Secret Level from I forgot who. It was someone on Mousetrap, and I just like came across it on Instagram like years ago, and I'm like, I've just always had it in my samples, and then like I have a resynthesized version, which is what this is. Not really resynthesized, I just kind of like copied the lead. And I just like have that going as well as it just kind of gets lost in the noise of all the arpeggiating goodness and all this and that and a third, you know, but it's cool nonetheless. So the song started from, I was looking through one of my folders. I think I have a folder called Steel in my SoundCloud. It's private. And in there, it's like either tropes to steal, techniques to try to copy, but also just straight up like things to sample. And one of those things to sample was this old Eric Doa leak that I used to have on loop when I would actually listen to like, you know, that sort of side of hyperpop in like 2021. And, you know, that's just kind of what I was on really. And so it's just one of those. It's kick a bitch on off patio. It's like the whole. If you were there, you were there, you know. But if you weren't, you're fucking confused right now. But don't worry about it. You know, I just took like one of the verses from this that I thought sounded good for this small little section. You know what I mean? Whatever. And then do some vocal processing, which is really what this chain is for. It was initially for vocal processing, but I just kind of started to use it for like anything, to make anything like bring it up to volume. So we start with single band compression, like we always do. Not too much. Got an Umru moment pack. Do I already have that? I know somebody gave me a bunch of moment packs, and I don't ever use them except for alt accounts. Because I have my own sound, and if I want a sound, I make it. I don't think I do have that one. Nope. Alright, well, thank God. That would be a very bad look for me. No, I'm joking. I'm only joking. But yeah, not that much single band compression, just because the sample's already compressed, and it comes from a genre where things are generally more compressed than they are in like mainstream music. Fembread versus Masquerade, who wins? Clearly me. And then we compress the shit out of the highs with the multiband compressor, big crush them, and just for some crunch. Although, again, the high end is already, like, pretty excited. Basically just means distorted from the original vocal, right? So it's not like I have to do too much. But I do choose to make it a little crispier and, like, you know, more clarity and a bit more fundamental. And then I decide to get a little anal about it and, you know, start doing some of this shit. And where I minimize the conventionally annoying frequencies so that I'm able to push the volume a little more. And we DS them. Do we make it louder? Just a little louder. Just a little louder, just enough to be loud, and then I EQ it again. You know, fucking bring the clarity up, and then some. This is not playing yet, but it's here. It's for later. Why is fast disc called sauce? Because, so, the story behind Game and Sauce is, forget which one came first, but I think I was at my friend's house, and because I remember I was like practicing like mastering with a fast distortion, right? And I came to the conclusion that it's kind of, this curve is basically doing the same thing as this. Just on my own, just kind of like experimenting, like, oh, I feel like they kind of behave the same way. Like you can put a fastest on the master, but like if you make it this like, kind of not that crazy, then you just get a little bit of top end distortion. You could do the same thing with a wave shaper too, but whatever. So I go to my friend's house, and then my friend's like, yo, I learned something for mastering. Like someone told him, yo, let me put you onto game. And then this was the game. It was, you keep the threshold default, but you turn the post up so that the line ends up at the 0. But, it like the volume gets increased beforehand. And I'm just like, wouldn't it be the same exact thing as doing this? And so, I called this sauce, because like, oh, let me show you the sauce, and let me put you on a game. And that was the whole thing. It was mildly funny, only really funny in the moment if you were equally as high as we were at the time. And then it just became a patcher preset that was made at his house, where he called it like sauce plus game, and like had the icon with the little dude. Here, the icon with the little guy. Where is he? This one, and I just say that I'm gonna do the same thing, but in Minecraft I'm gonna call it Game and Sauce, because as a nod to Game and Watch, and put a 9 on there, and so that's why Frastist is sauce. There you go. Jesus Christ. But yeah, please like the stream, everyone. Would be nice. Was that Bart? What? What? The icon. No. Definitely not. Stop heart baiting. Yeah, please. I swear. You just might be schizophrenic, and that's okay. But yeah, that's the intro done. And now the song actually starts. Let's go. Finally. Jesus Christ. We're out of there. So I do the thing again where I have this sound, and I'm just kind of like, I'm such a swag lord. Just, that's what I do for real. And then because the bass lasts longer, I just feel like it's better to do like a low pass to smoothly decrease this in volume and decrease this in bassiness, and just have the impact only really felt like here, and then here it just kind of like naturally tapers off. But this is FL12, so I do have to manually automate the volume. I can't just like drag a fucking knob. But it's whatever. I really don't. It only wastes a couple of seconds, and you can select the area by going like this, Control Enter, and then you make the automation clip, and it's only as long as this. It's not like you make an automation clip, it's as long as the whole track, and da 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 da. You gotta drag it back and all this shit. Like, no, it doesn't. It's not like really an issue. Bro, I actually felt like I was tweaking. Yeah, you and me both. Wait, so is fuck you permanently off or permanently on? Permanently on. So I'm gonna turn it off. Right, so I didn't notice the old FL. Yeah. That's why I have, like mode transient bleeding on. Very 909. 909. Nothing crazy. Just put this on, and that's repeating throughout the whole track, except for this other 909 that comes in here for the build up. But now it's bass time, where we play the plucks that are not default FL plucks. I've never, like, what do you mean default? Like on flex? I don't have flex. The one at the very start, that's maybe it's somewhere deep in the files, but as far as I know, it's the Wario swag base. Make hyperflip with FL99? No. Anyway, this shit. So I was being very generic. My friend generally uses 8. That's pretty funny. It's pretty generic sort of stuff. You know, the chord progression used a billion, jillion, kajillion, villion times. But notice how it's a detuned sound, but it's very consistent because I turned the random phase all the way down. So let me get into this. It's just 2 oscillators, an octave and a fifth apart, 2 voices. The detune is kind of strong. I have a sub playing as well. But really all the character comes from the filter, which is why I use, like, you know, French low pass and German low pass whenever I can, because it just creates a more interesting sound than like a simple low pass. And more interesting when you go to like distort it or do anything like that. Like you get a bit more of a characterize the results, right? Something more stylish. But these are the settings. Pretty simple. XL Tour Life was made in 12. Wasn't that the latest that was out at the time? Of course it was made in 12. Jesus Christ. Unless you want to be like, oh, it was made in 11 and that's the surprising part, which is also fine because I know mad people who, when 12 was out, they just used 11 instead. But like, whatever. Anyway. It's time to process. I compressed the fuck out of this. Put the curve on 3, you know, allow like a bit of the pluck to pluck, but most of the floor is just a bass. Fun fact, a DAW was used to make XL Tour Life. Then I put it through a fucking sound geyser. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I decided this is the sound geyser EP. And then I, you know, clipped it at 0. Although that makes no difference because I'm already pushing it past 0. But whatever, it's on here. Anyway. And then I put it through a slightly altered game in Sauce. Ow. With the goal of distorting all of this and not distorting the bass and, you know, just adding a lot of crunch. And then taking that and EQing that. And then putting it through a mid-side compressor. Which is where you get that width. People make fun of people now for using Soundgodizer. You must be 13 years old, because people have been making fun of people for using Soundgodizer ever since Soundgodizer was a fucking plugin. So, like, come on. I mean, now. Shit's been happening. I only really compress the sides because the mids are loud enough. Like, you don't really need all that. But that's that one pluck, and then it becomes layered with. Yeah, there's a little pitch bend thing happening. You know, only the pitch bend is linked to both. I did do the thing where you can link one automation clip to multiple parameters. If you select the parameter, you know, if you select it, go to Tools, hit L and A and your key. It's L then L, actually. Not L then A. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Did I break it? No. No, it's fine. You would hit L then L on your keyboard. L the first time selects last tweaked, and then the second L selects last tweaked, and then the second L selects link to controller. Because damn! because an automation clip is just a controller, you know, pretty useful stuff. But this sound, it's again pretty basic in its synthesis. Like it's not anything like super crazy. If OTT wasn't a thing, people would be using Soundgardizer. I mean, yeah, but Soundgardizer is so much more brain dead than OTT just because it has less knobs. What genre were you going for here? I don't know. I don't name a genre in my head and start making it. I just make what sounds good at the time. You know, it's just plucks and house, and I'm building up towards some techno section, I guess. I should preface that when I was making this song, I was very pissed at myself and the world and my inability to make any sort of music that I deemed good. You know, what's the hate with Soundgardizer? It's just funny to use, and a lot of people tend to use it when they're shit. And, you know, it becomes a thing where like it's like never use any sort of any kind of Izer plugin. But then like you start learning like when it's good, sort of deal. Blah, 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 blah. As long as you're aware of what it's doing. And you can use the Maximus preset of Soundgardizer, but like that's I hate opening up a fucking Maximus and selecting Soundgardizer A and then like, you know, being like, oh yeah, I'm being more sophisticated. Like, no, I just want the fucking knob. You know, I kind of like how stupid it makes my thing sound, and I go with it. And sometimes you listen and you're like, this is a little bit much, and then you take it off, you know. It's you hate it because it's like hating Puff players in Melee, you know. But sometimes Puff does some cool shit. You don't use the $300 compressor that's already built into your DAW. You're such a chud. Okay, but then I also don't want to be like, oh, what's the hate with Soundgardizer? It's a good plugin. Like, okay, chill. It's a one knob fucking squasher. All right, it's sound good Izer. Okay, it's a meme. It's a joke, and you use it kind of like that. You know, like chill. It's not God's gift to Earth, and no one realizes its full potential. But it's also not shit. You know, so just middle of the road. It's a plugin. So it's ironic. Yes. Oh, no, it's serious. It's meant to make yourself sound good, Izer. Like, dude, fucking okay. So this thing is basically the same thing, just pitched up with no bass. But the filter is actually moving and it's processed entirely differently. I am pretty sure. You know, well, the compression and the Soundgardizer are exactly the same. And then the game in sauce is default, except for some reason the game is not default. And then it goes into a clipper. And then I'm filtering out all the annoying stuff, and then I'm... What? Okay. Why? What is the goal? What is the goal? I'm so confused. Was it even on? I have to assume so. Was it on or was it not? Let's find out. I'm doing a lot of mute solo. Why can't I just see the... It was on. Why? For what purpose? What is this doing? I'm so confused. But then we put it through a mid-side compressor, and then the mids don't really get touched at all, and then, you know, they're EQ'd in a certain way, and the sides are squashed to death, and they're EQ'd in a certain way, and everything's EQ'd at the ends. I mean, I guess it sounds fine in context, but what the fuck was I thinking? Hi, Gamma Cry. Geometry hash YouTube intro Rocket League burger music bro. Awesome. Another pet peeve I hate was when someone makes something slightly electronic coded and suddenly a geometry. Hi, Yahweh Butt. Welcome to the stream. I gotta stop reading shit out of order. Maybe I don't actually, because that made that whole thing way funnier for me. I'm just like, it's like reading the quote tweet then the tweet, and not the tweet then the quote tweet, but it's still funny. I don't know. I could be too online for that one. That might not land with this crowd. Slayer is a good example. I guess of people saying GD music. I kind of don't really want to talk about somebody who has more success than me. I'm spiteful, slightly. Gotta sample YouTube poops in the dariacore. I mean, that's kind of virtue signaling, but you could do that like on an alt account. Right. So now it's time for the vocals that played during this section. See, I was gonna sample Penis O like on my own accord, but now that it's a trend, I want to do it way less. You know what I mean? Like, I hate when it becomes a fucking thing. Maybe. I just hate jumping on trends. Cause it's like I jump on the trend that's successful and nobody fucks with my music, or I don't, and the result is the exact same. So, I don't know. I don't really care. So, what's it called? A classic sort of intro thing here, where I start when the song actually starts, when it's not in the forefront. I kind of take away all the stuff that would otherwise make it a foreground vocal. Not really. Like, you can still hear like kind of the important parts, but like the fundamental is gone to make room for the Where Yo Swag vocals. You know, it's kind of a very bassy vocal. And then the delay is coming in too, so I just automate in the input, or keep it automated except for... Awesome. You know, put the delay on 1, and the feedback on 1, and the actual number on 4, which is a quarter notes. No one got the M-Well joke. I'm crying in a corner. Happens. Look, sometimes it's a tough crowd. Right? Like the stream if you didn't know what the fuck joke Turbo is referring to. Because I didn't. Alright, unfortunately, the vocal's kind of like lossy and includes a lot of background stuff. Except for this part. This part's fine. That's the laziest way to do a fill before a drop. I didn't get it for a second. Well, I didn't get it for a minute, and I'm still here, so whatever. Okay, vocal processing. This gets actually quite compressed, because it was uncompressed earlier and I wanted to really like squash it, you know. It gets quite compressed. And then we do a lot of multi-band compression because I want there to be some more crispiness, more high ends. And also kind of even out those lows. Leave the mids all natural though. As natural as could be expected for a single band compression that's been kind of squashed, but whatever, right? A little bit of Big Crush. Just a little bit of Big Crush. I have to click this part of the window if I want it to stop playing, or you know, if I want the spacebar to work. But then we EQ it. You know, the good old fish comes in clutch. You know, duck that shit at like 300 to 400 ish, depending on the vocal. You know, the number's not that precise. It's more what the hell your ear is telling you, and keep that fundamental, and you know, make it all like audible and stuff, and crispy and. A lot of de-essing too, because otherwise the sibilants would be very sharp. And then I put it through good old-fashioned game and sauce, and then we EQ the output.
Real swag, nigga. Real swag, nigga. Real swag, nigga.
And then
Real.
I have one of these delays. I don't think I'm ever using that delay. I think I thought it was going to, and then I just didn't. So it's just kind of here wasting space, wasting CPU, but whatever. It's nothing crazy. I remember being very like, let me just get something down on here. And I was probably making this like on stream, like this whole intro section, or maybe I had it ready for the stream and then I didn't do anything after. But I just know that I was very like, please let me just fucking put some sounds down. I don't really care like what's happening. And I'm so spammy that I'm really like defaulting to basics here. I have a specific sounds where I use the bubble up but reversed and vocoded with a bunch of reverb on it and glass break, you know, for all the impacts. And I do this thing where I like, and then secret level comes in, but the secret level comes in and it's way louder than it was before. And it also has, it's being EQ'd in a way where I want to distort this part to get that part all nice and crunchy, and then we bring it back down. And then we just gate it on 16ths. You know. Simple. Oh boy. This fucking section. So let's go over it. Left to right, top down. Now this is my reminder for those lurking. Hit like on that bitch. It would be nice of you to do. For real, on God. What is this kick? Well, you're in luck. I might tell you. So, let's go. So, this kick, a lot of these drum samples, you know, I wanted to make techno-ish. It's more like trance, whatever. I don't care. If you're 30, you can correct me. Most people in this chat are below the age of 20, so it doesn't really matter. But I will say, the kick is a default kick from FL Studio, but it normally sounds like this. And it can be found in mode audio right around here. But, you know, that's not going to cut it. I wanted to make a kick that was, you know, nice and distorted and, you know, da-da-da-da-da. Let me just, So, is fuck you on now? Fuck you is indeed on. And fuck you is a master which just has saturation and then and then gain to make up for it. Nothing crazy. Fuck Christ. Awesome. There's a delay as well too. So okay, let's get into it. This kick has a lot of stuff on it. This was initially, you know, for my workflow, I'm generally adding stuff to here because I can't be fucked to add it into a patcher and, like, you know, it slows my stuff down. But eventually I have to put it into the patcher just to, you know, be able to see anything. So, step 1 is to bring the kick up to volume. And just, like, clip it, you know. Just clip it enough to, like, get it real nice and distorted. So it's good to work with. It's all squared. It's all fucked, you know. Perfect. That's step 1. And now, we put it through a wave shaper to get it up to volume, I'm assuming. Yeah. Just you can tell where the volume is landing because it'll tell you right here. And so I'm pretty sure all of this is useless. But whatever. Anyway, then we put it through a transient shaper to give it a sharper sort of attack. I wish I could just bypass this and like, you know, do like an A/B test, but or maybe I can do that. Yeah. Bro, fucking that's the slightly clickier transient. You know. And we put it through another transient shaper, which the speed is a little bit lower, and I'm sure it just makes it louder in the beginning. So now it's a super snappy, sort of clicky transient. And then we put it through the magic Mistortion. Now, Mistortion is essentially like if you were to open a... Let's open a Serum Effects, because I think this is the best visual example. Let's open a Serum Effects, and then let's open a Distortion. And let's put this shit on... Not diode. I think a better example would be ASIM. Yeah, ASIM. It's what this is. So Mistortion is essentially like an asymmetrical distortion, but you can control how asymmetrical it is, which is what people use to get different tones out of their distorted kicks. You know, there are other plugins, paid software for like Logic and stuff that do this kind of thing. In a more visual way, but Mistortion is the free FL Studio version that you can get, that I tend to use a lot, and this is a plugin that gets very much used throughout the entire FLP, you know, which is in charge of all of the distorted kicks that you hear. Every single one, except for the one that goes from left to right to like transition between sections. That's like a preset one. But every single kick that you hear, for the most part, has been ran through with this plugin and like different iterations of this plugin and all this sort of stuff. You know, because this isn't like a crazy like hardstyle kick, I don't need to do like some fancy EQ work and like layer distortions on top of each other to get a cooler sound. I just need to put one on with, you know, some very specific knobs, and then we get there. It's very squared, you know, very sharp, but like whatever. I guess that's where I landed for some reason. Oh, you know, it's not. That's because this is on. There we go. You know, as opposed to, can I just bypass this? No, I can't. Right? We go from there to, and now it's starting to sound like a fucking kick. There you go. That sounds like a fucking kick. And then we put it through a transient shaper again, with the speed on max to give it a clicky sort of transient. You can barely tell because of how like clippy everything is, but it does add some clickiness. And then we put it through a bit of a soft clipper. Not really doing that much for the overall sound. And then we EQ it a little bit. Awesome. And then we are doing... We're adding a delay, which adds like a boom, 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 you know. On whatever the 16th setting is, I think it's 1. It's not perfect. In an ideal world, I just do this like with an audio clip, and don't like add a fucking delay, but whatever. And I have to compress the wets and then add an LFO tool to really like to really emphasize the curve that I want to be happening, and then EQ that so there's no low ends, and that's this. Which is only one half of the kick. Now the next part is the rumble. So the kick was put through an Edison, which is no longer on this FLP anywhere, I don't think. It was put through an Edison I inserted silence on the, it is trance delay basically. I inserted silence, because you can do that in Edison, like right click, insert silence, I'm pretty sure. And then selected everything and blurred it. And then that's what this sound is. It's just a blurred kick. You know, that's one way to get kick rumble. There are a lot of ways to get kick rumble. But that's one of them. And that's the one that I chose. So to get it to like sound cool and all distorted and rumbly and, you know, all that. What song is this? I have no idea. Is it like hard to read? Is that okay? Right. So I put it through a wave shaper, which is supposed to be on the other. It's on type shit, but it's not on type shit because type shit is type shit. Type shit is the wave shaper preset that you see on the cover of the Oddwin sample challenge, and I did use this for one of the sounds. It's supposed to be on like bipolar, but it sounds all fucked. But if I actually do that, it sounds terrible. You know. So obviously I had to do something that sounds cooler, so I don't read. Okay. Right. So I did this for the initial distortion, and then I put a wave shaper on that hoe. So it's even more distorted, and I put a serum effects on that hoe to get it like stereo for some reason. But like I put a high pass on it, so it's not really like stereoing the lows. Sounds like blowing into a microphone. It does. It sounds. That's what I wanted it to sound like. You know, like I wanted it to sound distorted, but not be literally peaking. Because I've heard kick rumble like a couple of times that sounds really nice and distorted, and almost like there's DC happening, which causes it to sound like someone's blowing into a microphone. But like it's controlled. You know, I don't know how to do that, so I just kind of inferred. And then EQ'd it, took out a lot of 300, you know, and then cut off what I would assume would help me mitigate some like DC frequencies. Because of all the distortion that I added and, you know, all that sort of stuff, it would be crazy. And then that's the kick rumble, and then you combine the two. Awesome. Yeah, then there's this shit, which is like, it is just some kick that's in a hardstyle kick that in a hardstyle pack that I have. The same hardstyle pack that I get that like impact sound from. Where is it? FX4? Yeah. And I'm doing like a parallel filter sort of deal where I have a high pass, but I also have like this sort of thing. Which is how it sounds more interesting than if it were to just be like a, you know. And it's being clipped quite hard. And that's that sound. And I do just spam that throughout the entire track. It's a nice sort of like, you know, puts everything together sort of deal. Then I'm adding some hats that are some FL default hats because I wanted something that sounded more interesting than just a simple 909. Now we're getting into the weeds of it. I don't think I really did anything to these hats, like processing wise. I guess I did. I just EQ'd this one for some reason. I couldn't tell you why. And these two, I think, are in the same channel. Yes. You know, that sort of thing. What is this? 909 ride? Is this EQ'd at all? Yeah. It's not being, it is being sidechained. For some reason. But it's also being like kind of 1-2 in the second half being louder than the first. Although the kick doesn't last like half a quarter note, I don't think. Maybe it does. Whatever. And then an FL default clap that sounds nice and fat. It's right here in mode audio. All I did was, you know, some slight bring up the high end and transient shaper. Not on max speed, but just to increase the clappiness of it. You know, the transient making it sharper. Right. What is this? Oh yeah, I put a fucking 909 open hat in there for some reason. I couldn't tell you why. What is happening? Oh yeah, a little reverse kick, I guess. Alright, cool. And then we go top down, right? There is a lot going on here, which I quite like, but it's very simple. It's very simple. This isn't the lead yet. It's like the stuff in the background. Do, 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 do. Right, so let's get into it. So this fucking thing, it sounds crazy. I think it's just a square, though. Acid. So it's more, okay, it's not just a square. It's not exactly acid. No, it's not, you know. I don't know what it's called. We're getting into trance, I'm pretty sure. Techno, again, someone who's like 30 could tell me like instantly what the hell I'm trying to go for, but I don't know. But this guy has an acid base in it. So this thing, it's basically, for all intents and purposes, just a square. Like B-Sod square is basically just a square. Like it has all the odd harmonics you could ever want for a square. It's a square, you know. And then it's being layered with a saw. And it's on random down, so it's, you know, being detuned and everything. And then here comes French low pass in here again to save the day. Like, crazy sounding, you know, with the drive and everything. You just move the cutoff and, you know, it really like, it moves. It moves. It's crazy. And then, you know, slight EQ. I don't want there to be any bass. And then putting it through a reverb is really where I get most of my mileage. Which you can't hear because there's an automation clip on it, actually. No, shut the fuck up. It sounds so sick. It's fucking cinematic as hell for no reason. And then I compressed the ever-living fuck out of it, so the reverb sounds like it lasts longer. But if I were to increase this knob, it would change the... Oh, maybe I could have taken up the feedback. I don't know. If I were to increase these, I'm pretty sure it would change the character of the sound in a way that I wouldn't like. So I just did some ducking. So it sounds like it lasts really long. And then... Just a little bit of EQ. And then like a pumping LFO to like get it out of the way of the kick. You know, but only you only really hear that wah in the full mix, you know. All this kind of gets a little bit lost to the sauce. The sands of time. You know, it's a cool sound to be playing throughout. And then we have this little acid thing, right? So what? All right. Which I'm pretty bad at doing, I realize. But like, whatever. I have the pitch being pitched up because of modal filtering. When the frequency is all like, when the it'll like get sharper as it goes up in pitch, but whatever. Anyway, so no, we're doing this one for now. It's pretty standard, I think. All I can remember from actually making it is the entire time going, I actually have no idea how to make acid. I think I've made it a couple of times, and they were all like, slight misses, maybe hits, but for the most part, I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing, and I still don't. But like, we still try, right? That's the whole idea, experimentation. Can somebody else type in chat? I just don't like looking at a wall of one person. I think it's like, it gives the vibe that, there's just cobwebs in here. But I understand some people are using this as like a podcast for shit. Yeah, thanks, Diggin' Boss. Just to break up the wall, Just to break up the wall. You don't have to remain talking the whole time and pretend like you have something to say if you genuinely don't and you're just locked in. Just wanted to see what was good. Press 1 if you're awake. Listening to this in the background while working on something. I hope that's going well. So this acid thing, put the fucking one of the acid wavetables on with a very resonant low 18 filter. No detune. I remember thinking the whole time, wow, this sounds fucking ugly as shit. Because it kind of really does. But, I'm just like, okay, I just gotta work with it and just hopefully turn it into something with processing. So, step 1, for some reason, I felt would be stereo. So, it's stereo now. Okay, cool. And then I mid-side compressed it to make it even wider. Or more accurately, I just turned up the side gain, really. So I didn't really do any mid-side compression. I just I basically just turned this knob, but in the mix, which I still think is useful, because this only turns the knob up after everything's been applied to it. But this, it's like doing this, but here, and then you apply effects to that. It's nice. Fucking low cut that shit, or do a little high pass. And then we can fucking process this. For some reason, I have not considered, like, half of these processing methods. It's very, like, rudimentary and just thinking of core principles. How do I make something wider? Oh, there's probably a patcher preset for this, And, like, simplifying the thinking and doing as bare minimum as possible until, like, I reach a point where I just need to, like, not need to, where I've found the plugin that just solves the problem in a way that I agree with. I don't know. It's very weird. But it's like, in order to process like this, I did have to unlearn a lot of shit that I used to do. And like really think methodically, what is it that I want to do with this sound? And develop sort of techniques. I will say this comes in clutch so often. If you were to add a EQ to the side, you have to add an EQ to the mid. Otherwise, you will get some phase differences because of the delay compensation that it has to add, or the delay compensation that it won't add. There will just be delay between these two signals, and it'll be like a, kind of weird thing, unless you want that. Right, so single band compression. We're just doing nothing but making it quieter, really. No, wait, it's kind of compressing it. How do I bring out the vision correctly type shit? Yeah, kind of. What ways can I bring out the vision? What's the simplest? What is the vision? Can we even see anything? Okay, no, let's stop. Bring those highs back up, really squash them, Big crush it for some reason. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but whatever, I did it, and I'm showing it off now. And for some reason, I pushed the most annoying stuff forward, and then de-essed it as well. Oh my god, I'm smoking some reefer. And then suddenly it sounds like a guitar. Okay, wait. What? What happened? Alright, so the game in sauce is normal. Just makes things slightly louder from where they were before. And then we put it through, well, I can only assume to be a very heavy clipper. Yes. And then just EQ. There we go. Now it's getting more dialed. Now it sounds cool. I understand now. And then there's like an LFO that kind of dips it down for when the kick is playing. In addition to the sidechain, which I didn't have to do any sort of Daria section, so the sidechain was pretty minimal. You know, it wasn't much, just enough to like get the transient all clicking of the kick or whatever I was doing at the time. Right, and then cut the lows. And then we have another pattern which plays for and that like kind of evolves over time. You know, whatever. Cool. That's that. And now it's arguably the most interesting part of... Well, is it? Not quite yet. Well, we'll get there. It's just some rave stabs we gotta get through, you know. Very simple. The only rave stabs in the entire song. How many versions do you go through in a song? Versions of what? The song? It's usually one. Usually Control N is an accident. In this instance, when I'm Control N-ing, it's to make a version of the project that's like a copy to stream and to send out to the members. But it's generally like different iterations. It's generally one. Usually when I make different iterations, it's like I'll render out something that's not quite done, and then I'll like, you know, like that'll be like a whip or something. But it's rare that I'm making a song and then I have a different idea for it entirely, and then it becomes like a separate iteration. That used to happen to me a lot more, just because I was like a little worse at, you know, bringing forth the vision that I wanted. But, you know, it's usually at most it'll be like 2, maybe 3, but for the most part it's like I just make the one that I have work, and, you know, flex that muscle, because that's a different skill in of itself, just like working with what you have, even if you kind of disagree with it. But whatever. So, Rave Stab. It ripped straight from Rave Generator. I think the plugin is in here. Yes, it is. Legendary. And then, you know, make it stereo with my little Serum Effects stereo trick. It's not mine. I think I ripped it from Virtual Ride or something like that. Then we make it louder, and then we mid-side compress it so it's all like even in the stereo and the mono. And then we EQ it, not like crazy or anything, just to make the fundamentals a little bit more fundamentally, and like, you know, get rid of the annoying stuff and bring it forward, make it slightly louder. And then the delay, and then the reverb. But I have the wet kind of being automated in a little bit because it sounds cooler that way, as opposed to just straight up playing. Although it doesn't translate for the second half because I don't bring the volume back down. I'm actually so stupid. But whatever. Well, it kind of does. It kind of does, but it kind of doesn't. Whatever. It's not important. What's important is what comes next. This fucking thing. I remember when I was making this section and like making these sounds give me a sense of impending doom. Good. It was meant to be a very spooky section. Sends shivers down your spine, if you will. So I remember being very insecure about this section specifically, like making it and like ideating it and like, trying to like tinker with it on stream. I basically just didn't. I had like a vague idea for how I wanted this section to sound, and I didn't do it on stream. And I remember ending the stream and then firing this up again, like kind of tipsy, and then just doing the idea with pitch automation clips. So it's not like it's just one note. Is this the 50? Yeah. It's just one note. It's just some random ass note too. Right. So let's go over the processing. Cause it's, it's not that crazy of a sound. Nice chopping, thank you. I also liked the groove that I made. It was just like it was just the groove that was in my head at the time of making this, and it didn't come from anywhere. I don't know. Maybe it come from somewhere, but I don't know. But it sounded sick, and I put it down, and I'm like, this sounds sick. I don't want to fuck this up. So let's go over it, right? So what's it called? Let's bypass all destinations. It's just max detune, and then I put a pitch automation on the fine at 50 hertz to make it even more sort of detune sounding, and put a noise on here. And I guess I'm FMing the noise, whatever that's even doing. I don't know. You can barely even hear it, but sounds cool. And then we process the ever-living fuck out of this. So first I put it through a distortion for some reason. I don't know why. But it sounds cool. Cut what's kind of annoying, but like remain everything else, keep everything else, and like, make it all like crisp. Cut only a little bit of the highs for some reason. Awesome. Some reverb. I keep messing up my songs by getting something that sounds good and just overcomplicating it, then it ends up sounding like bass with white noise layered on top of it. Yeah, I mean, eventually you'll learn how to do less to do more, because you kind of get an idea for what more even sounds like in the first place. And then you just, less brute forcing it and more letting the sound speak to you. Letting the sound dictate what it wants, and identifying what is good about it and bringing that out. And then I put there's a fucking delay in here that is being ducked when just to sound crazier. With the input volume only coming on for this. And then, you can barely notice it in the final mix, but it's there. It's absolutely there. And then we have a compressor kind of gluing everything, so like the reverb sounds like it's being ducked. So it's still really like reverberated, but you can still tell like the notes are playing and they kind of come through cleanly. This is useless. This is just for like some reverb swells. And this is to make things quieter at the end. And then I have this little LFO tool. Just slightly ducking the volume. Because I didn't want this to be sidechains. But I did, want to give at least some more room for the kick. To at least sound like it's eating everything else alive, right? which is kind of the goal. And then I just kind of went crazy with the automation clip. I don't even know why I did it like this, but I don't know what fucking notes I wanted to do, so I was just like, fuck doing notes, I'll just draw them. And it sounds so cool. It just sounds so sick. It ended up working really nice because it's only meant to dictate like a feeling, you know, like it flows like speech, which is the idea. It works quite well. It actually starts here. Like it just, you know, it flows, and that's the important part is for it to flow. And then these swells are kind of like, I think they're all the same swell, just pitched differently. Yeah. But everything is so dissonant that you can't really tell. You can't really tell at all. It's basically perceived as noise, you know. And I think that's literally it for this. Oh, it's I Love Stormy Weather. Oh my god, hello. An active member of the feedback channel. Now, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I'd love for you to send something readable. Hello, sunglasses. Yeah, like that, you know. Welcome. To your doom! So yeah, it's not too many layers at the same time, but it gets the fucking job done. It is loud as shit. It's perfect, you know. And let's go ahead and take it to the next. Let's go ahead and take it to the next section. If I can speak English, damn. Oh boy. Right before the kicks start playing, you know. So, you do this left to right, top down. Let's go top down. We start in this section, which is another one of these homemade kicks from the default FL pack, which is, it provides a lot of sauce, I can't lie. So, you know, like before, step one is to, I think, clip the fuck out of it. No, this compresses it. Yeah. This actually just kind of brings it up to volume in a way that I like. And then this is where I start layering distortions to get a more characterized sound. Even though this isn't like when the actual kick section starts, I still want it to sound cool, right? So since we have a kick that is brought up to volume, distortion 1, the purpose of this one is just to distort it a little bit. Enough, kind of like bringing it up to volume, but in a distortion sense. You know, just make it real crunchy and fat. And then we take an EQ, which dictates the tone. And then we take a distortion and then distort that. Heavier than it was set here, and the tone knob is different, and like, you know, all these other things. There is a more comprehensive tutorial out there for how to use this thing, but it is just kind of you turn knobs and you get result that it's like, oh shit. You know. Awesome. Which, just to compare, if we were to just put this here, I think it sounds the exact same, actually. Don't just pretend that whatever. So maybe it didn't do anything that time, but I'm sure that's because I put the tone on 20 hertz and not like... You can see there's not a very big margin for error. But whatever. That's where it was before. Anyway, and I have this EQ making it a lot like lighter because it's like an intro kick. It's not meant to be like actually kicking. FNAF bite ass kick. Don't shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Here's the thing, is that the method is very, very finicky, and it always is. You know, when you're playing with distortion like that, it's a lot of your sounds will sound incomprehensible, fucking terrible, fucking FNAF bite ass, you know. But sometimes you get gold. This is not one of those times. This is a very simple, like, you could just slap a wave shaper on there and be fine sort of kick, but, you know, whatever, right? I clip it even harder. This is the EQ that I put on for this like intro section before it becomes like here. I should abuse that incomprehensibility. You should, you know. And for the actual section, you know, it's, there we go. More distortion. And what is this EQ doing? I think this is a... What is that, a filter sweep? Yes, it is. I don't know why it's in a fucking patcher. What the fuck did I do? Why does it sound like that? What did I do? Oh. What? Hold on. Doesn't normally sound like that. I definitely fucked something up. Unless we fucked something up. Maybe it does normally sound like that. Hold on. It does. What? Okay, so when you're working with clips that are very like... When you're working with kicks that are very clippy like this, if you were to, you know, do some sort of filter to the DC with like a conventional EQ, you'd tend to fuck the sound up. In a way that's like... That has negative repercussions. But it sounds fine. I guess. Like, this sounds cooler. There's more bite. It's sharper. This sounds, you know, whatever. But it wasn't meant to be like a forefront kick anyway. It's kind of subdued. Context matters, bruh. It's almost like I made the damn song. Anyway. What's it called? Yeah, I mean, that's this kick. It's not super, like, crazy. And then I'm doing the 909 ride with the whole... With a clap. With a trap clap, if anything. Why? I don't know. It sounds kind of cool. You know, yeah, in the intro I'm doing 909 hi-hats, which I think are a lot more upfront than these. But these sound cooler. And eventually I just layer them. Because why not, right? Super simple. And then I have to start playing this little thing, which I don't know why, but layering this on top of, like, you know, kicks sounds so sick to me. I don't know why, but whatever. It starts to fade in to prepare for the next section. Now, I also will say this was gonna be psytrance, but like I'm really bad at psytrance. I'm really bad at psytrance, and I just fucking gave up on that idea, and I got really lazy, and I'm just like, fuck it, we're making kicks now. Yeah. So, no bass, because the kicks are the bass. No lead, because we don't need that where we're going. The rest of the song is very simple. It's just all the kicks, the vocals, and some sound effects, you know. We start playing, I should say, Rocket Reese, Miss My Choppa. It's a very good song. It's a very good song, but I wish it was better. You know, I feel like this guy, Rocket Reese, gets a normal person to engineer his music because the kicks are always behind the vocals and not the other way around. But it is like, hold on. Miss My Choppa. You know. If you heard that before, congrats, you know what the song is. If you haven't, it's a cool idea. I just wish it was I just wish it had more balls, you know? But whatever. So I steal the vocals, obviously. Oh yeah. And then we start getting into the weeds of it. So because the vocals were done by a sane person, I have to come into here and like really make this shit loud as fuck, you know? So that's what I do. I come in here and I do my thing. What the fucking fish paste. I don't bit crush it because I think it would take away from the character that I'm trying to, you know, go after. But step one is real squashed compression. And then shut the fuck up. And then we take a multi-band compressor to bring the highs up after really squashing them to make them all nice and even. And then we take an EQ and put it more in the forefront. And then we take another EQ. I don't know why I was obsessed in this to get rid of the DC frequencies and all the high end that I don't need. I don't know why I did that for a lot of sounds in this track, and I don't recommend you do that. But I did, so whatever. Becoming normal, that's why. It's not a good thing to do. If anything, you start introducing more like feedback and phasing issues at the DC frequency range, you know. If you like just overuse it, I think it's the attempt to be normal, but it's a very like, you know, it's rudimentary. It's a rudimentary solution to a problem that like I don't really have that much. You're becoming a 50-year-old Ableton user. I want to say trying to EQ an aim and break. That happened to me once. That happened to me on the last song actually. Phase shift. It's kind of yeah. You just, you know, introduce some weird aberrations at the frequency spectrum like proceed with caution when you do some bullshit like that, honestly. You know, proceed with caution. I DS it. You know, and then I make it louder over here. And I'm decreasing all the annoying stuff because otherwise, you know, it'd be slightly piercing. There's barely even a change in volume, like perceived to be, but whatever. It works. It works. And now it's loud as fuck and it's nice. It's cool sounding. Right. So, bazooka time. It is processed in a little bit of a nerdy way to give it a character, because it's not just like, you know, compression and I make it louder. No, I mean, initially yes, obviously, because that's how I start. You know, single bands. Where is it? Very compressed. You know, because we're making some shit that's loud, so we gotta really squash everything manually. You know, bring the highs up and squash them. You bit crush this shit just to give it a bit more crunch, because I always do that, and then bring back the fish EQ. You know, fundamental, take away whatever this is, probably the nasal, I forget. But just more for the sake of making the whole track as a whole feel like subbier, and then, you know, bring it into the forefront, make it crispy. Yeah, okay, we get it, dude. She's dead. Damn. Make it a little bit louder. Okay, it's a little bit louder now. And then the shit that makes it sound cool is this patcher preset's name. And I think it makes the shit sound cool. Now, let me explain. It is being put through a clipper. Very clippy sort of deal. And then it's being EQ'd twice. Once as a general EQ, once as get rid of the annoying stuff EQ. You know, sounds nice, and then it sounds a little nicer. Perfect. That's kind of the goal. And then, you know, delay with a wet dry split, where I'm EQing out the she got hit by a bazooka. Yeah, I think about it every time I hit the hoop. Awesome. Perfect. The shit that makes it sound cool does not play for like the fills. Yeah, I think about it every and it comes back. Perfect. Just so you can like hear what's being said. You know. And then the frequency shifter, which is very easy to hear. It's the frequency shifter. It's a very classic sort of sound. And if you've ever used a frequency shifter, you know how fucking sensitive this piece of shit is. So it's like barely moving, but it sounds crazy. And it's not working. Why is it not working? I'm so confused. Hello? Oh, it's because it's not from here. It's from here. For some reason. Awesome, yeah. And then I'm, you know, it's automating in some reverb as well, and I just kind of, yeah. Very simple. Automate up and then automate back down. It's a very smooth transition back into like normal audible speech, and it's very simple. It's very simple. That's the frequency shift effect. Damn, I wanted to buy those yogurt effect teas for like a long time, but they were, you know, available for like 3 days, and I'm broke. I'm still broke, but whatever. And the sound effects for this section are pretty simple. I'm just looping a bunch of shit over and over. You can't hear it. You know, bring back the glass break with the bubble up but reversed and vocoded with some reverb on it. I spam the shit out of this in this particular EP. 1000-Year Door, because it's just a really good sample that I'm surprised I don't hear get used as much. I don't think I did anything too fancy. Ow, I guess I did. Compression. Let's make it a little poppier. I'm assuming this is stereo. This is some Big Crush, probably. Awesome. Then some EQ to take all. We don't need all that high end. And then, why is that getting mixed in? Okay, whatever. Then there's that high pass that's turned off for some reason. And then this fucking thing. Again. And then eventually when the kicks start playing, we bring back this thing from earlier. And then it's just that for the entire song. Don't worry about this stuff. This is like DLC. And I guess let me just get this out of the way real quick. Yeah. Okay, wait. I'm assuming only one of these channels has EQs that are doing anything, and the other ones are just there to maintain the delay. So, okay. What? Wait. All right, so let's go top down. So the top, and let's do this shit one at a time. So I'm putting this through. There are 6 EQs, but I'm sure I'm only using 4. I'm putting this through a clipper. But clearly that wasn't enough because I wanted to, give it a bit more of a character. And then I, EQ'd that to make it loud as hell. And it needs to be loud as hell because this section is loud as hell. Take away some of the annoying stuff. Shut up! My fucking god, I have to click the top here to use the spacebar. And then, oh, it's parallel distortion. Okay. And so the lower end, what this is doing is giving the sound a nice, really distorted bed to sit on top of. That's being slightly EQ'd. And I'm pretty sure I just copied this from up here to maintain the delay. And then these two come into some other EQ, which is combining both those signals and taking it and going. Making it even louder. And then we have another EQ, which is just a high pass. And then I think this is de-esser. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna fucking... Okay, wait. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Right, so now... all we really have left to break down are these kicks, which I wish I could break them down properly, but I don't have all of the processing that makes them work. I don't have all of the processing that makes them work. I just have some of them for maybe one. But look. The idea is, I needed to take a kick that I made, in this project and then put it through, I remember I was trying to do a bunch of shit to like get it to sound convincing with a proper filter on it and like cut it for the DC frequencies, but like fucking whatever, I gave up on that. So this kick is made the exact same way as you would make any other kick in here, where you would take a kick from here that you would like, any that has like a consistent low end that preferably like the note isn't moving too much, and you would take that, distort it a little bit, and then put it through a distortion, and then put an EQ on it, and then put another distortion on top of that, targeting the tone that you really want. And then from there, you can distort it just a little bit more and put a bit more character on it. That process that I showed you for this kick, which didn't quite work for this kick because of what I chose to do, it's basically the exact same process. But I probably have like added just a little bit more distortion on top of that to get it like nice and crunchy. I know I definitely did for all the other ones, maybe not so much for this one because it's very tame sounding in comparison to all the kicks that follow. But I did need to render this out and put it in MIDI so I could like, have it, so not have the kicks be perfectly legatoed with each other. And just like a better way for like if this were FL like 20 or something, I would definitely just put it on the playlist and like, you know, have a slight clip fading out the volume to make sure I'm not like interfering with a zero crossing or anything, causing any more unnecessary popping. But I don't. I told you this section would be very speaky, less showy, because I literally I don't have the processing change for these kicks, and I don't even know what kick this came from. I wish I did. But I just know that it was one of the kicks from here. No, yeah, that's some other shit. And I absolutely deleted like the source kick, and I didn't. Did you update your FL? No, I'm on 12. Why would I update? And this kick is the same, except it's more distorted. So there's probably just another distortion on there. Another mistortion. This has... I don't see the 7-segment figure as your bar timer. That's 11. That's not 12. What is this? There's like a patcher in here with a bunch of mistortions. I'm on 12. Why would I update? Yeah, because look, if you have an audio clip and you're on 20 and you start to clone that audio clip, it gets moved to your audio section, you know, which is pretty bad for workflow if you want to have clips that are pre-colored, you know, if you color code your sounds, which I do. Also, they got rid of Notepad. So like, yeah. Looked it up, it came out in 2015, it did, and I started, this is 12.4.2, and which I got in like 2017. What's it called? What's it called? I got distracted. Yeah, I can't show you what I did for this. All I can tell you is that for the kick that I picked, I didn't use the tail that was immediately after the kick. I used the tail that was a bit later in the kick, because the kicks from FL tend to have very, very long tails. Like let's say this one. Maybe the tail will be even longer, and you can like take this and like, you know, move the tail in a way that gives you a result that maybe there's too much pitch bend in the beginning, and so the ending has less pitch bend, or the tone just sounds cooler. And that's what I did for this. And like for getting the talk right, like it is just a matter of EQing it properly and finding a kick that works, you know. It is just a matter of EQing it properly and finding a kick that works, you know. And I wish I could show you how I did it, but like I don't know anymore. I don't. Which sucks. But whatever. I know that these have some more processing on them, so I can probably get into that. But whatever. So kicks 2, 3, and 4 become way less reasonable. I remember I'm making kicks 1 and 2 in the same session, and 3 and 4 came way later. Because I was very frustrated with how kick 3 didn't really sound the way... Why is there a MIDI? Oh, I guess for this LFO tool, huh? That's so... Do you use that Cashmere kick tool? No, I don't know what that Cashmere kick tool is. Personally, sorry. So kick 3 is... I know I made it, and then I wanted it to sound harder. Like, this sounds fine, you know. It's the same exact process with a different kick, you know, which also means I turned the distortion knobs a little bit differently. But I remember putting this in, and I'm like, this isn't as violent as I want it to be. You know, so I added a bunch of other, much more shit to it. So like I clipped it harder, and then I clipped it even harder, and then I so it's just straight up bass. But I'm like, this still sounds cool, but I want there to be a little bit more movement. So I layered it with a MIDI out that's sending MIDI information to this LFO tool, which will re-trigger when a MIDI clip gets sent to it. And it dips the volume in a certain way that gives it a bit of movement before it gets hit by the distortions. Just a little bit. You can barely tell, but just a little bit, you know. Which if nothing else was playing, it would sound like this. You know. It's kind of the goal. And then there's this one, which... Oh, actually, no, wait, hold on. Kick 3. Can I find Edison? Oh, no, that's for kick 4. What? What is this? What is this for? This was the processing chain for a kick, where there's a distortion to bring it up to distortion, and then there's an EQ where I want the note to be, and I'll sometimes add multiple knobs of an EQ into a particular note, and like one of them will be very fine, so I can target the exact note that I want to hit, and then the distortion comes in with a lot of input gain and put the tone where I want it to, change the mode. Sometimes it gives me more interesting results, and the symmetry changes how asymmetrical the distortion is. Hard clip, soft clip, decrease the resonance a little bit sometimes, and you know, put the mode on 6 dB or just change that around too. It's a lot of tinkering. And then I will EQ it again slightly after that, and then, you know, add a transient shaper, because it's only going to be one impulse, so I'm just making the talk more talky and more distorted, and then clipping the output of that, and then like EQing the output of that to like really shape the frequencies where I want them to go. And then that'll lead me to, I think, this. I think that was this kick specifically. Maybe I did have these two on, but I can't recall. But I do know that in the song itself, it sounds way more violent. What the fuck? Is that what it sounds like? It is. Just in isolation, it sounds so noisy. Hold on. That's why. Okay, so I'm gonna turn fuck you off again for this. So this kick, I can tell you, it did after the processing sound like this. Which is very, you know, whatever, sort of basic. And I got very annoyed with how shit it sounded, right? So I am layering this with a MIDI clip again, you know, to do the same thing to create some movement. But there's a lot more important things at play here. So there's a transient shaper with some pump in it. And then, yeah, I am doing this sort of thing to like give it some movement before the distortion, but let's pretend it's not there for now. And you know, we EQ it in the most annoying parts for the most part, and then this is where I got fed up, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna open a wave shaper and I'm just gonna start clicking, and we're gonna see what happens. Because the idea with the wave shaper is that it happens at the waveform level, right? So like, you know, as it goes here, it'll get really loud, and like as it goes here, it'll get a little quieter, and then it'll like be normal, and then be normal, and then be really loud and really, really quiet. It'll just change the entire makeup of the waveform at the waveform level, you know. And you can get some interesting results. I just decided whatever we're going with this. Fucking Christ. It's a lot of EQ. And then some more clipping. And then some more clipping. And then some more EQ. Which somehow just whatever this did makes it sound a million times filthier. And then when we add the movement LFO tool, you know what I just did? I just broke the LFO tool because I disabled it. My fucking, that's not even the right patch. That's not even how it looks. Oh, for fuck's sake. You know what I'm gonna do? Here's what I'm gonna do. Sometimes if you disable LFO tool and re-enable it, it'll fucking collapse in on itself. This plugin is disabled because of an error during processing. And if I just reload it, it'll load the wrong preset. So here's what I'll do. Here's what I will do. I will do something quite magical. I will just, where is it? Oh no! The screen is black. How could that have happened? Jesus Christ. You know what this might do? I might run out of storage actually on my computer. You know that memory thing that's next to your CPU usage? That's how much physical memory your computer's using to run the project, not RAM. You know, it's like literal memory, like disk space. Fun fact. I'm opening the non_2 version of the project, the original project, and then I'm getting the preset for the LFO tool, and then I'm just gonna add it. And hopefully that'll fix the issue, because I keep forgetting that disabling LFO tool makes it fucking like spaz out sometimes, and it's a real pain. I wish it wasn't. I wish that wasn't the case, but it is the case, and so we gotta work around the case, and fucking load, dude. Oh my god. Okay, hold on. Let me just save preset as put this shit on a kick once and close the project, and then would you look at that my screen is back. Oh, this is gonna crash and everyone else. No, it's not. LFO tool broke FL Studio entirely? No. Can you imagine? Am I late? Oh, you're right on time. Okay. No. More plugins. LFO tool. Please don't crash. Okay, hit save. And then I can just right click this arrow. I'll put that shit on the kick once. There it is. With the MIDI input port properly on there as well. And then we add this. You know, it adds that little like offbeatness, not the offbeat. It adds like just a bit of movement on the second half of the kick. You know, you kind of hear it. If I turn it off, it's just one flat, continuous fucking distortion. But if I turn it on, you can kind of hear that movement being created by this LFO tool, which is cool. It's cool sounding. And then that is why it's so noisy, because there's so much distortion happening. And additionally, what's happening in the master when this happens, which is why this section sounds so much louder than everything around it. Normally for all the drop sections, I am putting something that kind of makes things sound louder when it's on. But what it's really doing is there is a limiter with the saturation all the way, and because that decreases the volume a little bit, I increase the gain after that and let that, go into the M utility and all that jazz. But for a section that I want to be super loud, yeah, it's really loud and crazy, and it's clearly taking up the forefront of the sound. But if I were to not have an additional saturator on there or anything and just kind of let it hit the clipper all natural, then it's a bit more violent, which is the goal. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing like crazy. I just keep on layering this vocal, and the only thing that I'm really changing is the way that I'm like filling in between like for like that time it was thinking about every time I hit the hookah. This was just the Eric Doe vocal. And this time I wanted her to be as little shit as possible. You know, so I put a filter sweep on this sort of layer instead, and instead of having like the bass thing that pans from left to right, I just let the acapella play. So it doubles the effect of the loudness in the second half, just like absolutely smacking you in the face. Because, you know, our ears are very comparative. They only really hear one thing based off of what they've just heard. You know, like the way you perceive time, your frame of reference, that's kind of determined by how much like caffeine you've taken that day and how energized you are. But like, you know, how bassy something is only really determined by the lack of bass in something else you just heard, or how loud something is only determined by how quiet it was just a second ago. And so if you do something, there's the whole reason why like there's a lot of silence used in like hyperflip and stuff like that is because if it's just one continuous brick of audio, like it's never really loud anymore. It's just annoying. But, you know, if something's crazy loud and then it's crazy quiet and then crazy loud again, it's really like... It just fucks you. True alert. Sorry, lol. No, don't be. It's okay. I wish there was like a popular true emote that you could use. But that's the whole... It does what? It fucks you. You want me to say it louder for the people in the back? That's what I fucking thought. What else is it doing? What else could it possibly be doing? Come on. Did you see that one picture of Kane Pixels in the back rooms? I don't think I did. No, sorry. Yeah, there is no true default emote, which sucks. But whatever. Don't mention the image. Okay. And then it's the outro, which is just Rat Monster being interviewed after 5-4ing, like coming back on Zayn and 5-4ing him in like a 1st to 5.
What do you have to say to the viewers?
That's it. I don't think I put like layers of Soundgoodizer on this sample. I don't even think this is in the mix. No, it is. It is 44. I did process this.
What do you have to say to the viewers? What do you have to say to the viewers?
For some reason, I felt the need to bit crush it, then EQ it, then put it through the ester, and then put it through some Game and Sauce. I'll put it through a clipper, then EQ it again, then put it through a Game and Sauce. For some reason. That's not a recording of Edison? What do you mean a recording of Edison? Well, like, oh, like Edison scrolling? No. This is all natural. It's called, you make a bunch of cuts, and then you hit S in your keyboard to select the slip tool, and you just slip.
What do you have to say to...
You know, it's a labor of love. It takes a long time, but, you know, it yields a cool result. Awesome. Perfect. And then there's this little Easter egg, not Easter egg, but like if you're a member and you have the FLP, you'll be able to enjoy this little If you think it's a too slimy beat, fucking kill yourself. You're telling me this sounds terrible. Yeah, whatever. It's just a whole beat. In Minecraft. Clear yourself from Minecraft. Jump off of a cliff in Minecraft and then miss the MLG. But yeah, I mean... Look, this song is pretty simple, except for the kicks. Too Slimy isn't terrible. The beat, though, some of the beats are genuinely like fucking. 808 is essentially a crash out. This is the Too Slimy beat. That's a fucking too slimy beat. Okay, die. But yeah, this is not like super crazy compared to like all the other shit that I make. Like, it's not complicated. It's just a very specific sort of swag. Let's have everyone lyric just by listening for the first time. Lol. Generally impossible. It's, yeah, no, you can't do it without captions. But I mean, yeah, the song is kind of cool. If you haven't heard it on SoundCloud, or you haven't, like, you know, supported the release, it would be nice of you to do so now, right? Because I'm broke. Check Jen. The Kane Pixels image is so fucking funny. Oh yeah? Well, where's the joke? Am I supposed to know Kane Pixels first? I know he directed the movie. When? Whatever. My fucking god. Okay. Right, so Monday will be the quietest track. That's the joke. Wow. So Monday will be the quietest track on the EP, the most chill. It's not even hyperflip at all. It's more like steezy lo-fi. These are IDK tired of it all. You know, it's just very chill, sort of. This got so much more attention than this song with the cool outro, with the rap M outro. That shit flopped on Twitter, which fucking pisses me off, you know? But whatever, right? But this... I guess it's mass appeal. I don't know. I mean, not as mass appeal as fucking Riller, but like it's mass appeal, and so people fuck with it on the shorts feeds and on the comment sections. Like, oh, this sounds beautiful, yada yada. And I saw Cardboardian comments and like, you should be depressed more often. This sounds sick. I'm like, maybe I'll think about it. But that's what comes next. I have a feeling that the breakdown for that one will be genuinely really short because that would not take a long time to make. And there's not that many tracks, and it all fits on like the same screen. Yes, Reeler is mass appeal in the scene. In the scene. Reeler just uploaded a birthday track. Do you know how many comments are on that, and like the sheer motion? Like, I just dropped and it's like, fuck, crickets. Like, ain't nobody talking about fembread. The fuck? You know what I mean? But like everyone else, like, dude, like what do I do it for? Like, I get my stuff is more of a slow burn, but it's like, shit. What the fuck do I gotta do out here? You know? To get like some motion or something. And yeah, I will bitch about it, cause what the fuck? Okay. So look, the next stream will be on Monday, which is a ways away from now. I do encourage you, if you're in the Discord and you haven't given yourself the live role, you would scroll up to the top and go to the server guide and go to where it says roles and react, and you know what I mean? Just give yourself that shit so you can be pinged for Monday. You do it because it's fun. I do it because it's fun, but I also want it to be my career. You know, what makes food get put down on the table, right? I'm serious about this. I'm pretty serious about wanting to make a name for myself and be known for something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not entirely doing it because it's fun. I started because it was fun, but I keep doing it because it's fun and I want to do what's fun for a living. You know what I mean? That's the goal of me. And I know that I know how to strike that balance of, you know, yes, I do it for the results, but I also do it for me. You know, I make what I want to hear for the most part, and I'll bitch about the numbers of it later. You know, I'm not going to change my sound for the sake of numbers, but I'm still going to complain when there are no numbers. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, well, the music's not bad. Like, what's going on? But whatever. You know, that's just a personal thing. I will see you on Monday at midnight, and hopefully you are there and interested. You know, these streams are not the most popular. My left ear keeps popping whenever I speak. It's so fucking annoying. But thank you for sticking around nonetheless. Shows me that you want to learn. And yeah, I'll see you on Monday.